Hi, welcome back to Educator.com. For this lesson, we're going to have our introduction to the writing section, so we're going to get a sense of how the writing section works and talk about an important thing about the writing section that you should know about before you start studying. First, our legal disclaimer. Test names are the registered trademarks of their respective owners. Said owners are not affiliated with Educator.com. The College Board was not involved in the production of and does not endorse this course. Welcome to writing. This lesson is going to give a brief explanation on how the writing sections of the SAT work. Our later lessons are going to cover how to work on the essay specifically, strategies for the essay, and then strategies for the multiple choice questions. So we'll go over specific strategies down the road in future lessons, but this one's mainly just going to serve as an introduction so you get a sense of what we're about to do and what you've probably already done if you've done a practice test. But before we get into that introduction, there's something important you should know about how much you should value the writing section, what you should think about it in comparison to the other sections. So your first thought is probably something like this. The writing section is worth 800 points, and the critical reading and the math sections are each worth 800 points, so they're all equally valuable, right? Not the case. So no, the SAT writing section is important. The SAT writing section is something you shouldn't just write off. It's not okay to get, a 200 on it. But it's the least important of the three sections. For the most part, you can consider critical reading and math to be equal. But writing, from your point of view, should probably be your lowest priority on the list. But it's out of 2,400, I hear you say. Yeah, but remember, the score isn't inherently important, right? It doesn't, none of this stuff has automatic intrinsic meaning. Just because you get a good score doesn't mean that it's going to be valued. The point of doing well in the SAT is to get into schools with that, right? You want to be able to show your good scores to schools. So what matters is how schools value it. And they don't just get a number out of 2,400. They get a number that's broken down into each of the three. They get to see how you did on critical reading, on math, and on writing, each separately. And since colleges view writing, for the most part, most colleges and schools view writing as the least important of the three, it means that you should probably view it as your lowest priority when you're working on it. So what does this mean for you? First, I want to say it again, the writing section still matters. You can't just say, I'm not going to even try on that section. You need to get a good score on it if you want to get into the best schools. Getting a good score on it still matters, but it's the least important of the three. So it doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about it all. It means that it should be a slightly lower priority. You should still care about it. You still want to do well on it, but all things equal, you care more about critical reading and you care more about math than you care about writing. How much lower should it be? There's no hard and fast rule here. How hard you should try to work on it compared to the other two, there's nothing really specific. But if it's way lower, if your writing score is way lower than your other two scores, that's going to raise some eyebrows when you're applying to school. So you want it to be, you want to care about it, but you don't want to care about it more than the other two. So here's my general rule for you. If your writing score is 80 points or more, so 80, 90, 100, or even more, below your critical reading and your math scores, focus on writing. So for example, let's say you had a math score of 700 and you had a critical reading score of 650. And then that would mean you'd go, oh hey, critical reading, it's the lower of the two, so you'd only have to start working on your writing once it was 570 or below. 650 minus 80 gets you 570. So in this case, because critical reading is the lowest score, you compare your lowest score to what you're doing on your writing. If your writing is within 80 points of your lowest score, don't work on writing, work on whatever your lowest score is of critical reading and math. If you manage to have a great writing score that's really useful, just focus on whatever is your weakest between critical reading and math. So you still care about writing, but it's a lower priority than the others.